Hola! I really wanted to talk about this topic. This is like my third time trying to record this video, and I'm having such a hard time with it. I don't know why. I think it's because this video originally started out as me talking about my strict upbringing, which I do want to dive into, trust me. But then I started realizing how much I was talking about the Christian faith, and I wanted to kind of make a video about the different levels to Christianity. And I want to talk about like perhaps even like the different levels to churches, because something that I haven't really seen people mention much is how different we are from Christian to Christian. And that's obvious, that's true, but what I really want to like get at is how growing up, I felt like our version of Christianity was stricter and more extreme than what other people had growing up. So when someone tells me they're Christian, I really have to gauge what kind of Christian. Not for any other reason than like, I don't automatically feel that we have a similarity in backgrounds or in religion even, unless I know a little bit more about how that was for you. Because I was realizing growing up that people didn't have, like, they would go to church one day a week, just Sunday, and or just on holidays like Easter, but they were Christians. Or growing up, I met Christian friends whose families drank. My family didn't drink. Or whose parents had tattoos and they were Christian. Or, you understand like how deep this goes. Or went trick-or-treating. Their kids went trick-or-treating. I'm like, you can't be a Christian and go trick-or-treating. Or, I don't want to get into like some of the other stuff, but there was just a lot of things where I had been raised that is against our faith, our religion, that is against God. Yet there was Christians left and right who didn't follow Christianity. To the mind of a 10-year-old, I was confused. And eventually, I don't want to say that I was bitter or jealous, because you have to understand, it was so strict for us. We couldn't wear pants, and that there are a lot of like certain women in Christian groups who don't wear pants. I understand that. We couldn't wear pants. Let me just list things. Couldn't wear pants. Couldn't really participate in dances or parties or anything like that. No Santa. No Halloween. No horror movies. No violent games. No cursing. No music, unless it was gospel. Unless it was about God, you could not listen. And my dad, that was a strict one. That was big. So, me and my sister, we got very good at listening to orchestra music. No words, it was a loophole. But I genuinely believe that it was outside of my faith to listen to anything other than what my dad deemed okay. And truly, that doesn't represent the Christian faith, but it did represent the one that I grew up with, which was like more extreme and strict. So when I'd meet these other kids, and I realized really quickly, if my parents met someone and they're like, oh, they're both in the same class, or they're both in the same school, like both your kids are in the same school, both our kids, they can be friends, they're both Christian. And my parents would be like, oh yes, they're both Christians, they can hang out together, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you have absolutely no idea what their version of Christianity is. And I don't know if I want to hang out with Miss Girl. I have no idea. And that was as a kid. I was like not vetting, but I felt like I was trying to protect my parents from protecting me. It was very weird. The way that my parents taught me and raised me in Christianity was not the way that other kids experienced it. So when other kids would tell me they're Christian too, or we shared our faith, it meant next to nothing to me. Because what I was experiencing, going to church 5-6 times a week, waking up at 5 a.m. for prayer, like going all nights, like prayer nights, like I'm talking like all nights. Like some churches do this, I get that, but put this all together for years and years and years and years and years, my entire life basically. fasting once a month, so 24-hour fasts. Sometimes we'd have 3-day fasts, but those were like, my parents were more lenient during those. We had that 28-day fast where you would abstain from certain foods. You know, everything was so, you have the amount of money you give. When I got older, we had evangelism. We were being asked to like stop people in the streets, not in the streets, but in the stores and in the streets if you have to. You know, there was Bible verse memorizing. There was front to back reading of the Bible and tests and pop quizzes, basically. Nothing, unless it had to do with God, my dad didn't want to hear about it. And this was the household I grew up in, but also this was the faith that I learned. I'm like, that's what Christianity is. And it feels so sad looking back, because I truly love God and I truly love my relationship with him. So all of that other stuff, I understand was more for my family and not really about the faith in general. And I remember watching movies, Christian movies with like white Christian families, and thinking, I want that type of Christianity. That type of Christianity where it's all cutesy. And that's what it came to my mind. I'm like, that cute Christianity where they sing Amazing Grace and they all share food and you meet back on Sundays and it's nice. And it's not that I was wishing to have like some sort of other life necessarily, but it was the fact that like that family, they were able to enjoy pop music and they were able to kind of, and it's not that I was desiring like drinking or anything as a child, but like I was like that it felt more peaceful. Like it felt way more peaceful. And I can never say that my childhood was bad. I can do nothing but compare it to all the other childhoods out there, especially someone who works with kids. I could never say my childhood was bad. I had everything I needed. I had a roof over my head, I had food on the table, I had a warm bed. I had what I needed. My basics were always covered. That was never a problem. And, you know, I was loved. But this version of Christianity that it wasn't just like my household, my entire family adopted, was so intense that I really didn't know who I was outside of it until I got much older. And when there was, like, by the time I was 14, 15, 16, I was so in it that, you know, I was doing everything I can to please my family and please my parents, just to like survive, because there were severe punishments for like not fully engaging. Church was serious business, and in order to make my dad happy, I knew that it needed to involve God somehow. You know what I mean? It was not easy, but it's what I did. And by the time I was a little bit older, so like 18, 19, 20, I was really in a mood or desire to rediscover Christianity for myself. I'm like, what is, like, do I maybe want cute Christianity? Do I want to maybe not consider myself a Christian at all? And that's not what I wanted at the end of the day. I did not want to not be a Christian. I was just like, I can't be this version of Christian, what my family has. I don't want to do that anymore. And so, and maybe one day, like, I never say never, so I'm always like, but that version of Christianity didn't feel peaceful. It didn't feel like me. I don't know. Should religion feel like you? Like, what does that mean? But I was like, there are other versions of what this is. And I'm not saying to go all the way out, and I'm not saying to go all the way the other side. I'm not saying that. I just want to like see who I am without this. And I did. And it took a while. By the time I was 23, 24, and when I was finally able to move out, live on my own, and which I've been doing for like 2.5 years now, I wanted to see who I was without church, without this building and these confinements, without my family pressuring me and all of these like ticking time bombs and these schedules. Like, who am I outside of like intensive prayer and like speaking in tongues and exorcisms and baptisms and all these anointings and all these things that I had grown up to surround myself with? And again, I don't think these things are bad. I just didn't feel like they were me. I just feel like they weren't. This is so weird because like, to say that they weren't me feels so weird. Like these clothes weren't me. Like that outfit wasn't me. Like that's not what I'm trying to say. I just wanted to see what my version of the faith was. Like for example, if I were to raise my own household, what would I have crosses and Bible verses everywhere? I don't know. I've never had my own household, and clearly I don't. I have Bluey up here, but it is not that I was like I'm done with religion and I'm out of here. That is not it at all. I didn't even want that for myself. I just wanted to know what it meant to me at my core without all of these clocks and all of these things. When I tell you, we used to wake up at like 4:30 a.m., drive down to another city that was an hour away. This was a normal behavior. This was before school. Pray for an hour and then drive back and go to school in the morning. That's the type of religion I was in. And when I tell you we were, oh my God, the reporting we had to do and the lessons we had to give, oh my God, it was crazy. And the amount of like work that went into serving and went into, you know, just like saying that you were part of the God's house, you were basically a worker, and it was for God, so it was fine. But you're 16 and you have finals and like it was so intense. And if you missed church, you couldn't do that. You couldn't miss church. You couldn't miss youth group. You couldn't miss practice. You couldn't miss church. And then you would get phone calls. And there's something different about the religion in general, my parents' version of Christianity, and then the church. That was like the Trinity right there. That was the whole thing. And I just really feel like what I wanted out of my relationship with God was neither the church's version, at least our intense Latino version, and my family's version. It was different than both of those. That's all I'm trying to say. It was mine. And I want to like encourage people out there who are kind of like, I don't want to necessarily, I feel like I've been hurt by the church or hurt by my family. When it comes to religion, I don't want to necessarily leave the faith because it's important to me. If you've going through that era of something similar like that, you will find it. And sometimes it takes time, and it takes like in my head, I was like, this was so interesting. This was like an experience. I was like, I need to know who I will be without these walls and these restrictions and these things. Like, will I become like, I don't know, the thing that they're scared I'll be? Or, I don't know, will I come back with like, ready to like lead the church? Like, who will I be essentially? And it's not that I was looking for influences or mentors or like new experiences, sure. But like, it's not that I was looking to like find something else to replace it. I just really wanted to live in stillness and not move. And I was like, I just want to not learn a new thing about prosperity or how Jesus was raised again. I don't need to hear another word about that. I can't tell you guys, I've said this before. I could go the rest of my life, never step foot in a church again, and I would have gone to church more times than the average person in the entire United States. Like, that's when I tell you we would go on vacation and it was hitting houses for evangelism every night. It was Bible group and church group and everything. And I understand that some people, and you know, some people will relate to this. And I didn't hate it and I didn't despise it. I just felt like that wasn't what I was being trained for, wasn't what I wanted out of the faith. Even if I wanted anything at all, I just wanted to, what I found out is that I wanted to exist with God and be in communion, faith with him, with etc. removed. Does that make sense? I was like, I don't need to necessarily learn another thing about the Bible. I would like to learn about the world that we live in. And I would like to explore the world that we live in and touch different parts of this earth and see the sun go down and see the moon rise in different parts of this earth. I want to learn other languages. I want to connect with other people. I want to hear about other religions. I want to walk with God while I, make big life decisions and choices and find new apartments, and whatever it is, you know, I was like, that's the era I'm in now. I'm not saying that the strict version of Christianity was evil or bad. Opposite, you know? But, or that cute Christianity is better. Hopefully this is not an offensive term. I just came up with it when I was really little. Like, it was just something that, you know, it was just something that came to me when I was really young and never thought to change it because it was always in my head. But it's not that any of those things are bad. I just needed to know who I was after having lived in that so long. Like, who am I in the world without this stuff? And I think that was super important to me to find out. And not only to find out, but to, like, you know, just for me to grow. I think that was really important. And I'm glad that I did it. So that was everything. But it was more than a good learning experience. So if you guys want to keep chatting about this, or if you want to hear more, let me know. I have stories. I do definitely want to go into more church stories because those are intense and crazy. But, like, please let me know if you want to hear more. Okay. Bye.